Welcome to the Cybersecurity and Cloud Podcast, where we hear the stories of information security professionals. This podcast explores different angles, out-of-the-box ideas, and the human element of cybersecurity. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcast and supporting us at www.patreon.com/CSCP so we can continue to bring on amazing guests. You can watch videos of the interviews at www.cybercloudpodcast.com.
In today's episode, we have Chris and Ron, two good friends of mine. We've been doing podcasting and challenge each other on social media to get better and better. And we discuss about how to keep focus and how to do community together.
Okay. All right. Yes, absolutely. We're in security. We need to consent to use each other one. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cybersecurity and Cloud Podcast. Today we have two very special guests that I'm so proud to have on the podcast. And we've been challenging each other, teasing each other. We tried to do this for a very long time, and finally it happens.
Yes.
Ron, Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Glad to be here.
So this is your host, Francesco, and I'm so glad to welcome the Hacker Valley Studios teams in my podcast. But maybe Ron, Chris, do you want to give a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Name is Ronald Eddings. Feel free to call me Ron. Co-host of the Hacker Valley Studio. We'll cover in a second what exactly the Hacker Valley Studio is and what that podcast is about. But really trying to focus on bringing the human element, not only to the podcaster, the viewers that we have, but also to our lives. And outside of being a podcast co-host, I work at Palo Alto Networks as a security architect.
Yeah, Chris, how about you?
Chris Cochran, the other co-host of Hacker Valley Studio. Just glad to be here with good people. Francesco, man, we go back. It seems like I've known you for years.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Oh my goodness. Our challenges and the content. You check me, I check you. We just keep growing together, and I love it, man. It's fantastic.
No, I love the spirit, and we've been doing this teasing back and forth and challenging each other, and finally last year we managed to get into the same room and do a recording, as we were actually saying. It was great, and I saw that it went out recently, so I really appreciate to being there, and the conversation is just smooth; it just flows.
Absolutely.
But I feel like we know each other for like forever.
Yeah, no, it does seem like that way.
It's one of those things. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll look back and we'll probably ask ourselves, how do we meet again? Like it just happened.
I think I don't even remember. It just happened. One of those things that just collide in the universe and things happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, but it's great to have you on the show. But I challenge all my guests in the show to give 10-second positive advice or 10-second quick advice on cybersecurity or anything that you want, but we try to stick it with cyber. So Ronald, do you wanna start?
Sure, I'll take a stab at it. Positive advice, positive message for those in cybersecurity. I would say explore your interests, explore the things that you're most curious about, and just see where it goes. Don't hold yourself too accountable, but set measurable goals and have fun with it.
Chris, how about you?
Double down on people. A lot of the times, the stuff you learn, the opportunities you get are going to be the people that know you and that trust you and want to bring you into whatever opportunity that they have cooking. So double down on people, reach out to people, help people, and help them without expecting anything in return. And I think everybody will be much better for it.
Man, guys, I love that. I love the focus on the community, and that's what brought us together. And actually, the other day I was listening to one of your recent episodes, and Chris, you talked a little bit about how do you get into this shift of mindset when you were at high school, challenge yourself to reconnect to people. Yeah. And I saw the evolution of the Hacker Valley Studio from technology to actually the people stories, and I absolutely love about that.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
guys tell me more or less one good funny anecdote or funny stories about the Hacker Valley Studio or that happened during this evolution of the podcast?
Oh yeah, I definitely have one. So when we started, we had a video component, and we had two cameras, like one facing my face, like close up, and one was facing Ron. And we kind of wanted to talk about the stuff that we were really interested in, which is like the human stuff. But we were like, but we, we're these cybersecurity guys are expecting cybersecurity information from us. And we would get messages like, 1 minute you guys are talking about fitness, and the next you're talking about zero trust. I'm not exactly sure what this podcast is about. And we're like, oh man, what's going on? People are going to hate us. But slowly but surely, these two sides of being a cyber practitioner kind of coalesce into what is Hacker Valley Studio today. And so we focus on the human element, but it still brings in all the exciting things about what's going on in cybersecurity today. And so people are like, we love what you guys are doing about the human element, the focusing on the whole of the cyber professional. And so it's kind of funny how it goes from like, what the heck are these guys doing, to, all right, we
Actually
get it.
works. It's a good chemistry. It works.
Yeah.
No, it's a good story. Ron, do you have any funny story about how the podcast?
I have a great story. So we love having fun with the podcast, and Chris loves kind of surprises. So early on, we would have guests on, and Chris is like, "Hey, I'm gonna let you know everything about the guests, but I got a surprise of the topic." So we sometimes, I wouldn't know what exactly we were talking about, and we had one guest on who shared some very personal and deep information on the podcast. Truly grateful for that. And it was about the relationship between him and his dad. And we went deep
That's
in this
heavy.
episode. And I wouldn't say I was underprepared. Like, I'm always prepared to podcast, but it was a surprise, but it was such a great experience. We had a great conversation, and I think the conversation might have been even better because I didn't prep for it. It was kind of raw. It was vulnerable and deep.
Yeah, and another funny one though is when I popped that legacy question on you. I was like, "This is like one of our early episodes." I was like, "Hey, let's just get in the studio. I'm not telling you what the topic is." And Ron used to make this sound. He doesn't make it much anymore, but whenever something's heavy, he would go, "Ugh."
Oof.
And as soon as I asked the question, I was like, "What legacy do you want to leave?" He just goes, "Ooh."
It's heavy.
That is.
You dropped the bomb, man.
That was a good one.
No, it's good, and I think we leave trace, so it's better to leave a positive trace on the internet.
Definitely,
and that's I think what we all do what we do, and aside the fact that we love talking to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
that's such a good excuse. Hey, I have a podcast. Talk to me.
Exactly. And it's so funny because normally in our profession, people don't want to connect to people. People lack the social element of it because we're so focused on the technology. And I think there are tons of great people that are focused on the technology. But I was chatting with Miko and Rick Ferguson the other day, and a lot of people are focusing on that, but they're not so good at delivering stuff. And the best people that you see delivering speeches or delivering any presentation on anything is the people that connect with the audience, it's the people that share, it's the people that talk. And, the human part, they connect to the human part, not the technology. The technology almost doesn't matter because there is so much offering from tech. You can read it anywhere. But what people, I think, want to hear is how do you solve a specific problem, but what's the story behind it?
Yes. What is the story?
And I think that's what I saw the Hacker Valley Studio evolve and telling the technology, but the story behind it. And it's now in almost like a chemistry. It's a perfect balance that just flows. I really saw the evolution, and in the latest episode, I was like, man, it flows. It's lovely, and I'm so proud of you guys. It's just a fantastic show.
We see the same from you. We see the evolution. I remember some of the LinkedIn posts that I used to follow from you way back over a year ago. I think you had a post on like a USB device. I forget exactly what it was. It was like
let's not mention names because they still they keep on hating me.
Let's not. Good. But just to see like the focus on tech, and now the focus on people, the focus on community. It's amazing to see that from you also.
Yeah, no, I think it's a learning curve where you start seeing that everybody can talk tech, but very few people can connect to the human aspect and the human element, and that's what matters. Because ultimately, I keep on telling myself we only have one life, so let's better live it, connecting to people and believing the hell out of it.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, I won't need to bleep it that, but this is unfiltered version.
Yeah,
Heck
exactly.
No, free falling. And Ron or Ronald, which one do you prefer? Because I tend to short by default.
Call me Ron.
Okay, Ron it is. I love the post that you made the other day about, the morning preparation, the mindset, preparing for your day. Can you share more about that?
Absolutely. And we just had some content that we posted on our Patreon. Shout outs to our patrons. But I have a journal prompt, and ours is pretty similar. I think I shared it on Twitter. We were talking about it a little bit back and forth. But this journal prompt that I have, it's almost like having a motivational coach. I'm answering very insightful questions about things that are going to make me more excited, things that are going to make me that are going to make me better at my craft and also at my hobbies. And also questions in my journal prompt that ask me about who I'm going to connect with today. Who's one person I can become closer with and build more of a relationship with. So I think having this journal prompt, and that's kind of my strategy here for my Wednesday posts, is to just share one entry from my journal prompt every Wednesday, whether it's about motivating myself to be better at cybersecurity or motivating myself to establish more meaningful relationships and connections.
That's amazing, because I do that preparation in the morning and review in the evening, and it just puts you in a different mindset where you review your life. You're not a spectator of your life. You're actually driving your life. That's how I feel.
Right.
And it puts you in a different mindset. But I have to say, I kept that journal very, very close. So that was the first time I actually share it, because it felt a very intimate thing. And my hat to you, because sharing something like that, I feel it's almost a vulnerability, and opening up to the world shows how strong you are. So
Thank you.
Definitely my hat to you, as when I saw it, I said, I have exactly the same. I had to share it. It's like he made the leap and share it with the audience. It's like I've made the same leap. I'm very conservative in what I share, and there is a specific reason. I got burned very badly for sharing personal opinion. I'm not gonna go in depth to what happened, but from that moment on, I'm very, very careful about what I share and how I share it, and I think it's almost a reaction from what happened. So, how do you guys feel about sharing anything that is personal, the connection? You're not scared sometimes to actually get attacked or get the opinion, the wrong opinion?
Yeah. I think I learned early on that your story is your story. And if you think sharing your story is going to help someone out there, then all better. If there are 100 people that give me shade or have inflammatory comments, but there's one person out there that it helps, then I did my duty. I did what I thought was right. And so I'm not really afraid to share my story and share my vulnerabilities and things that I'm struggling with, because no one relates to people that are quote unquote perfect, because no one is perfect. And so whenever you share who you are as a person, people are able to connect. People actually want to have relationships with people that are real.
100%. I agree. And for me, I have had my words like twisted on social media, and that's really why I don't really participate in the back and forth too much on social media. I think it's a little toxic. All I can do is my best. So, and I think part of me doing my best is sharing my message, sharing some things that are personal to me, and that message might not be for everyone. So, I'm really honing in on our audience and the people that kind of have similar mindsets, while kind of the podcast is allowing me to also expand my horizons, since we're not just focused on cybersecurity. We're focused on the edges and the fringes of cybersecurity. So I also get to expose my message and just think differently by talking to people from very unique backgrounds.
So No, that's good. I think it's going to push me to share a little bit more, and I like both perspective that ultimately you shape with your energy and with your thoughts and with your stories, you shape your audience. So ultimately, the people that want to follow you, they're going to follow you. The one they're going to hate you, they're going to hate you either way, in a way or another. So I like
I
that.
remember my first YouTube video. It was about hacking, and I posted it on Reddit, and I got tore up. Everybody came after my neck. People thought I was trying to. One, people thought I was making money on the video. They're like,
Right,
"You're
yeah.
just posting adware," and then other people on Facebook was like, "You're trying to teach everyone how to hack and break into systems and whatnot." So the haters are always gonna be there,
They're
and
going to be a flame war either way, so
yeah,
you
Yeah.
better be
exactly.
prepared.
And it's good to embrace it. It's good to embrace differences in thought, and that's good. That's fine. Let people have differences in their thought. It's just a learning opportunity.
But it's a
Mhm.
hard lesson to learn.
It
It
And I
is.
is.
think
It's
I
tough.
think being public, you never come prepared. And even if you come prepared, you don't. You're not. You can't be prepared to that stuff. And it comes from all angles. And it
Yep.
comes completely unexpected. So for me, it was completely unexpected. All angle is a wall of negativity. And
Yeah,
it took me weeks to recover. Honestly, from
Mm.
this is the mental awareness week. And I'm saying be prepared when you go on social media, when you shout out something, because you could receive a wall of negativity that could
Yeah.
badly affect your mental health.
definitely.
Yeah. It could.
So yeah, lesson to everybody: be prepared for what it comes whenever you share anything.
Yep.
Hey, Francesco here. A very quick message from our sponsor and then we return back.
This podcast is brought to you by the generosity of NSC42 Limited, your cybersecurity partner. Cybersecurity is complex and different for every organization, and you need the best tailored service to make sure your customers' data is safe and sound so you can focus on what's important, focusing on your clients and bringing the best and safest experience. NSC42 Limited can help you during your cloud transformation, cybersecurity assessment for your compliance checklist on-premise and on the cloud. Want to know more? Visit www.nsc42.co.uk to get your free quote.
So, guys, what's next for the Hacker Valley Studio? How do you actually? I have a very good question. How do you find your people, the guests?
Oh man. It's so funny. People, there are folks that reach out to me like, hey, we can help you find guests. Ron and I, for some odd reason, we've been really fortunate.
Don't.
We've been really fortunate, and we are just stacked with guests. Like, it just doesn't stop. People reach out to us, we reach out to people, and we reach out to even aspirational folks like LeVar Burton. We reached out to LeVar Burton and like, hey, Reading Rainbow, like would love to have you come onto the podcast. Is he going to respond? Probably not.
Yeah.
There's probably like a million other podcasts out there that are asking him to be on their podcast. And so, not being afraid of rejection. And so just, shooting for the stars, getting amazing people on the show is what we're all about, and having great conversations. And so, yeah, and just people introducing us to other people as well.
Yeah, no, I saw the Darknet Diary episode. I didn't finish it all, and I think that's great. And I think, as you say, it's shooting for the star, trying it out. It's great, but how do you not get excited? Like whenever I think about guests in my podcast, I just get excited and just want to invite everybody that I love. But then I need to rethink and say what my audience want to listen to, what their story they wanna listen. Ideally, when the audience is gonna completely be aligned with what I think, it's gonna be easy. What I think is gonna be what the audience more or less likes, because you get a followership. But how do you do the screening? How do you say this episode goes here and stuff like that? How do you select people that? How do you avoid getting completely off topic?
We had Dave Bittner on our show, and he brought up a great point, and he was saying that our responsibility and his job also as a podcaster is to highlight the audience, highlight the guest as the star. everyone in cybersecurity has a story. Even if you're breaking into cybersecurity, you have a story. If you're been in for 20 years, there's a story about you that makes you great. So I think for us to find the podcast guests and to screen them, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a conversation that we have, and we really try to kind of help them help us ask the questions for them. So we'll ask, just have a little bit of a back and forth before the podcast. And how we find them, Chris does a great job. I think, especially on the
Yeah.
outreach, he was talking about just taking a shot, asking for help. Will you be on the podcast?
Yeah.
Every mentor that I've had, they say, if you want something, just ask for it.
Absolutely.
Maybe
No,
you'll get a yes, maybe you'll get a
it's
no.
perfect, and I
but,
think
at
more
least you
people
got
need to
somewhere.
take the courage of that. And I definitely am not shying out from asking people. we're trying to get Graham from Smashing Security, because it's I heard one good friend of mine, Lisa Forte, was in the recent podcast, and they had so much fun, and I love, and I think it's very personal, and I'm trying to poke him to actually come here. So let's all shout out to Graham and say, come to the podcast, let's have a laugh. So I think that's the other thing. I love to laugh on the podcast. I laugh a lot, and I think it helps. It helps, especially in this particular situation. So, considering Corona and everything else, how do you stay healthy, positive? How do you keep that attitude, positive attitude? Go for it.
I'll take it away first. I go on a lot of walks these days. Now I'm going on 2 to 3, sometimes even 5 walks a day. There's a lot more time in between my activities. Like maybe I'll jump off a meeting and have 10 minutes left. Keeping the mind sharp and fluid by going on walks and just seeing different things. Like I accidentally
Did you invite him
stepped
on
on
the
a snail
podcast?
yesterday. little weird. I was like, but it was on mistake. it was on mistake, but it just helped me think differently. I was like, all right, wow, like I need to, maybe be more present when I'm walking on the sidewalk so I don't step on more snails on accident. But also meditation and journaling. We just talked about journaling. Before I start that, I meditate for just 5 minutes, close my eyes and start breathing. Not really much to it. And then just writing about how I feel and what I want to accomplish.
How it evolves.
It's very exciting when you have that
How about
log
you,
and you get to
Chris?
see it
Yeah,
transpire
so every
over
morning
time.
I start with like a decompression. And you'd be like, "What? You wake up and you decompress?" Like, yes, I have to. 'Cause
you wake up and scream in the room. That's a definitely way to cross your wife.
Right. Decompress a little bit in the morning, drink my coffee, and then I go right to the workout. I immediately work out because, it's funny. People think that, expending energy would make you tired. But in fact, like working out in the morning invigorates me and it gets me ready for the day. And I'm ready to tackle the world. And then every morning I take a shower, I listen to music. I listen to my amp up soundtrack, getting ready for the day. Today's going to be great. This is my personal motivation in the morning to just take on the day with both hands. And then I just get right to work. I start working, trying to knock out the most important things first, and then everything else after that is icing on the cake. And then obviously have to do podcast stuff after I get off of work, editing, getting
the hard
folks on
stuff.
the show, the hard stuff, and then I go right into being dad all the way up until I pass out at 9:30. So yeah, just staying busy. Idle hands makes this scenario even tougher. So just staying busy, trying to move forward on my personal goals, move forward on my family's goals, and that's how I stay sane.
Should.
You know what's also helped me a lot stay sane during this time? We've recently started to take up this vocal practice. We have a vocal coach.
It's hard work.
It's been so much fun.
I wanted because I heard it from the podcast and I realized because when editing, I saw my voice and I saw which one it pitch and peak, and I don't appreciate. So I want to hear all about it. Shoot, please.
You know what? Our vocal coach, at least for me, she has me saying peculiarly brilliant Italian William. and I have a tendency to not pronounce my L's. I have like they turn into Y's for some
Yeah.
reason, like brilliant, but it's brilliant. So I've been kind of just more
Yeah.
conscious, and
I
it's
miss
been
my
fun to
S. I
see
miss my
the
S.
And
transition
for
there
me,
too.
I had a hard time opening my mouth. As you can see, now that I've mentioned that I have to open my mouth, my mouth is now opening even wider. But yeah, so we do this thing where you could take the cork of a wine bottle and put it between your teeth, and then try to recite poetry while you're
Oh,
doing that,
Jesus
and
Christ.
that pushes you to open your mouth, because that's a part of the instrument of speaking is opening that mouth, letting the sound come out. If I talk like this, it doesn't, it gets muffled, and you lose the
Shall we
actual meaning and the emphasis of the words. And so, yeah, it's been amazing just working with her. to
Shall
be
we
honest with
start a cork challenge where we all pronounce something with the cork in our mouth and see which one is funnier?
you.
I am gonna do it.
We should do it.
I know, right?
Chris will probably be good at it by
Shakespeare.
now. He'll be reciting poetry with the cork. Like,
We're gonna
what's
put
the
note for the
problem,
record.
guys?
We're beginner. Chris has a lot of practice, so it doesn't count.
Ron, did you have to memorize a poem?
I did
Okay.
not memorize. Well, I did memorize it just through all the practice that we've done. But I had a transcript that
Okay,
also
nice.
I gave her just from
So, in terms of
a
speeches, do
speech that
you
I
do
wanted to
also
give.
Toastmaster or other stuff? Have you done any speaking course? How do you prepare for that?
Yeah, so I had a speaking coach, Ann Ricketts. Actually, I've been chatting with her recently. She took us through a lot of stuff. She did a lot of one-on work with me in preparation for some of my keynotes from last year. Yeah, just I think reaching out to experts and getting their feedback helps that learning curve, shortens that learning curve exponentially, because you can do all the searches on YouTube, you can read as many books as you want to, but when you get an expert that's giving you like hands-on support and coaching, I think that's when you really kick it into high gear.
Well said. I agree. I did not know until later in life the value of having a coach. It is an investment in yourself, but you don't have to keep that reoccurring payment. You don't have to keep using that coach. You can hire them for a specific big event that you have. Like Chris mentioned his keynotes. I got to see the transformation of him working with a coach, and he was already a great speaker, and he
Oh,
went
thanks, man.
to a superb speaker, an excellent, exceptional speaker. So
Yeah.
Oh,
I
jeez.
would
No, I
definitely
always
recommend,
struggle with a coach.
coach.
I
It
did a
goes
lot
a
of
long way.
a lot of Toastmaster, but I never had a coach, and I always questioned, do I get one? I got a speaking coach for a little while, but I never really went to town with it. I never really finish or embrace it. So I think I'm gonna embrace it a little bit more right now.
Have to.
We had Jordan Harbinger on our podcast, and he talked about using coaching for like all things in life. He introduced us to the vocal coach. He also has a coach for learning Chinese, and he's talking about, it's
And it's
not
just about
expensive.
speaking,
It's
right?
$10 a session because it's $10. I think it's like $10 an hour, but it's just for speaking, and he doesn't go crazy with it. He just does one session a week, and I'm sure it doesn't feel like a lot in the beginning,
Fantastic.
but
But
over time
consider
you'll
we
see
are
that great
all super
progress.
excited about everything in the world. How do you keep focus on your goals? So I struggled a lot on not getting excited about everything and getting my attention on everything, and ADHD doesn't help at
Yeah.
all. So I keep a focus list, and I try to screen off whatever can be a distraction. But what's your technique?
I have to hand it over to Ron, because he put me on this book called The Power of One. And what it is about the power of focus. What is the one thing that hour? What is the one thing that day? What is the one thing that week that you are focused on and delivering on consistently? And because I felt the same way, I felt like I wanted to do a little bit of everything. I wanted to be this Renaissance man that was doing poetry and writing music and doing cybersecurity and producing content, like and you can do that because all of those
It
things
get diluted.
it does dilute it, and but having good exposure to that stuff is good, But when it comes to actually making progress, you have to pick one thing and focus on it and get better at it. Enjoy everything else. Like I did stand-up comedy. I'm not going to be a comedian. That's not in the cards for me. But I did it just to have that experience. But when it comes to using my voice as a way to produce content, it's the podcast. That is the one place that I'm doubling down on.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's important and you should dabble with all the things that you're interested in. But you don't have to do it on like a professional basis. Like for me and my goals early on, I would try to become the best at a hobby. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like I just want to do this thing. Why am I so focused on being competitive in nature and while missing out on just the joy that this hobby or activity could provide me?
Yep.
One of the things that Chris and I did together
Mhm.
was we did spoken words at some cafe. And while it was fun, we just went in there for just to see what it was like. We're like, hey, we've all journaled, we all have some writing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
That's
go to this
amazing.
cafe and let's just spit
That's it.
and see how it comes out. And that was the end of the experience. I'm so glad we did it, and now I'm ready for a different experience. So but those things help me focus on the real goal at hand, and that's oftentimes the podcast, especially becoming a better cybersecurity practitioner. There's just very few things that I do. Like Chris and I, we have several episodes that we record every week, and it's just like one
It's
episode per
consistency.
few days, and it's not a lot of work, but it's so consistent. Same for my cybersecurity practice. Yeah, just learning over time. I've been trying to learn more and more for the past 10 years. And luckily, I had great mentors. They told
So how
me
do
from
you
the very
actually?
beginning,
That's a
you're not
very
getting
good
all this right
point,
now. It's
Ron.
going to take time.
How do you see in your life changing with the power of mentorship, especially in cyber? That is such a mind blowing field.
When I was really young in cyber and brand new, I actually got into cyber. I got very fortunate. I got into cyber when I was 19. And when I got in, I had just an abundance of mentors. Everyone knew more than I did. And now that I'm a little older and, becoming more wise in the field, there's maybe a little bit less of opportunities for mentors for me, but there's still an abundance. And I almost forgot about that. I think it's very important for everyone to check themselves and realize you don't need a mentor to like be like a father or mother figure to you. You can just have a mentor to be someone you look up to in a very specific area. Maybe they have great insight
Life.
when it comes to cybersecurity, but don't have insight when it comes to things like chess, yeah, or life in general. But I think for me, I've reinvigorated my passion and not only
No, that's great.
mentoring
And
but
Chris, how
being
about you? You
mentored
mentor,
and
you have
providing
mentee,
value to
or
my
you be
mentors.
mentored by?
Oh man, across the board, I'm always mentoring people. Anytime anybody reaches out and they want to have like recurring calls with me, I try to make it happen. It's hard to scale that. You can't have like 50 mentees, but
Yeah.
I definitely try to do my best to help everyone out. For me being a mentee, I have a tribe of mentors. I feel like once you get to a certain level, it's hard to have one person be your everything as a mentor. And so I have a tribe of mentors. Ron and I belong to this group of folks called Security Tinkerers, and you have some of the best, like in my opinion, some of the
Welcome to
best.
the club.
Yeah, yeah,
Alan Boucher introduced me to.
yeah. Nice. Yeah, yeah. I love that group. So many brilliant people. So many
You
Oh,
weren't in
amazing.
Vegas
nice.
though.
Yeah, I know.
We
Yeah,
had the TinkerCon.
yeah, yeah. So I did TinkerCon up in RSA this year.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
fair enough. You justify.
But yeah, so you kind of have to scale your mentorship and be specific about what you're looking to learn from each person. If you just say, "Hey, I just want to be good, help me out," then they're less likely to help and be able to give you
To take
guidance on what
seriously.
you're looking for. If there are things that you admire in people, and you're like, "Oh, I love the way this person speaks." Talk to them about speaking. How do they approach speaking? Do they write everything down? Are they freestyle? Like, what do they do to make themselves great? From a practitioner's perspective, you see the stuff they put out on LinkedIn, you see they're giving talks about their amazing security program. Like, talk to them about that. How do they approach building teams? How do they approach architecting programs for a large organization versus a small organization? Being really specific about what you want to learn from people, and then you all of a sudden Frankenstein the perfect mentor for you from all these different people.
I like the Frankenstein mentor with all different ideas. I think that's work. And that's why we launched the Mentoring Monday hashtag with Tanya, to actually have this community to reach out to people, because I was the same. I couldn't reach to a number of mentees, and I never actually had a mentor. So I only had professional mentors, but I never had actually a mentor. And I was always lacking that. And I said, I'm going to do the stuff that I was missing when I was younger, because if I had direction, I could have structured my career in a much faster way. So I'm going to mentor a lot of people. Yeah. But it went completely out of hand. Hence why we launched the Mentoring Monday, the podcast, the original podcast, the hashtag, so that we could reach to people. But shoot.
I have a question for both of you. How do you mentor and stay passionate without being discouraged? If someone you're mentoring, maybe you've taken someone directly under your wing and they fall off, how do you stay encouraged? What do you all like to do to not only encourage yourself to remain their mentor, but get them back on track?
I agree.
And sometimes you just have to kind of let it go. Maybe they're, going through something in their life that you don't necessarily understand. Maybe they really don't want it that bad. Maybe it's something they heard they should do, so they reached out, got a mentor, and they're like, nah, I really don't want to talk to this person. So, and you can't take it personally, right? It's just like anything, like going out for a job, talking to somebody that you want to take out on a date. If you get rejected, it wasn't meant to be. And so, but don't be discouraged, because there's going to be someone out there that's going to like latch onto every word. Everything you tell them that they need to do, they're going to do, and their life is just going to improve from it. And so there's always going to be someone out there like that for them.
I think I have a similar philosophy to Chris, but I use the power of 3. So I nudge, I advise, I kick, and then if that doesn't work, then I just give up. And as Chris said, sometimes people are going through different phases where they need a mentor, or they need to kind of grow that thing inside. Because if it's not pushed from them and you keep on pushing and pushing, you don't see result, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe they didn't realize they need that kind of push in their life. And you can push and push and push, but if it's not homegrown, if they don't feel it, it's never going to work. Do you experience?
Right. I've taken a community approach these days, where we have now kind of a mastermind group that we host, to where it's never personal if they don't complete any specific task. This is all kind of as you need, grab the wisdom. And as we share, we're going to try to continue to flush the wisdom back in this mastermind group. But it's always there to use and kind of pick from as you need. It's almost like a tree.
I keep on getting hurt by it. I take it personally. I'm Italian. I can't help it. It's in my blood. I am very passionate about stuff, so I'm not going to deny. I'm going to take it personally. But that's just my style of mentorship. I'm going to keep on pushing and pushing, but then if you don't want to, I'm still going to keep it personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I put my guts to it.
Make sure that they succeed. I love that.
It maybe come from the fact that I never had a mentor, and for me, it's such a pressure thing. I just go with the flow. But a power of 3, you can't convince, as Chris said, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't just drown it in water. It's like, learn. Now you learn.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we reached more or less the time. I'm going to challenge you both to leave our audience with a very positive message about cybersecurity, because I think it's important to leave first positive message in this period in general, and in cybersecurity we tend to be negative. Mm-hmm. Chris, you want to kick off this time?
Yeah, sure. One team, one fight is one thing that I learned in the Marine Corps. And you really think about how as a community, we are combative against these adversaries, because we are one of the only industries that actually has adversaries. We have people that are looking to undermine our work. They're looking to do all these bad things to us. But because we all work together, because I know you, Francesco, because I know other people, I have a team of folks that can help me solve these issues. And so by working together and being one team, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about being in this community of cybersecurity.
Oof, that heavy. Ron, it's gonna be challenging to double down on that. Double down on that. Come on. No edit.
Cut the episode. So what I would say, and it's pretty similar to what Chris would say. I would say that cybersecurity is a positive sum industry. It's not a zero sum game, meaning the more that you help yourself, the more that you help others, the better of an environment it is for you. If someone creates a great body of research and shares it out with everybody, not only do you get to learn from it, there's going to be tools and solutions created for it, and you're going to have a much more interesting job. The alert fatigue is going down day by day. That's one thing I'm very passionate about. So I would say make sure that you always look at all the contributions that you make to yourself and the industry as a positive.
Welcome to the next episode, everybody, and thanks for listening to us. And thanks, Ron and Chris, for coming. It's been amazing. Yeah. It feels like just people, friends just coming together and chatting. It's so natural.
Yeah,
I love
natural.
this. Love it. I love this. Thank you very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
A nice conversation with friends, the community getting together, and with COVID and organization getting bridged, we can only help each other if we support each other. So please come together, support your community, and get together and be human to each other. This was your host, Francesco. I hope you enjoyed.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, consider leaving us a review or sponsoring us on Patreon. It helps us bring on amazing guests and keep the podcast alive and free. Consider supporting us at www.patreon.com/CSCP and watch other episodes at www.cybercloudpodcast.com.